Welcome to Terror in Tandem, a podcast about finding entertainment in the macabre, hosted by the knowledgeable and lovable Laura and Richard Mathiasen. Each episode, we discuss the horror genre, from books to film to TV and beyond. Sometimes, even from the beyond. You can find us online at terrorintandem.com and on Instagram at terrorintandem.
.com.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Sometimes we pause. Sometimes we forget we're speaking and lose our way in the middle of sentences.
You wouldn't know it, but it is summerish.
It is, yeah. Welcome to the 50-degree rainy summer.
It's about as many degrees as it is the number of this episode.
It's like March in June.
However, we are going to talk about summer.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's technically the beginning of summer, and eventually it will get super hot. So,
well, this is all about planning ahead, this episode, so I think it's a perfect time to talk about it.
I live in the
before
moment.
It gets too hot.
In the now.
And what we're going to talk about
is... 1/4 mile at a time. We're going to talk about patience and love.
What we're going to talk about in this episode is summer camp survival.
Yay! Everyone's favorite thing, summer camp.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love summer camp?
So what would we, as your lovable and knowledgeable hosts of this pod, instruct or advise in order to have a survivable summer camp experience?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Summer camp, right?
It's all about killing.
In my opinion, from a personal experience, is a nightmare. I hated summer camp. I didn't like it. I didn't like anything about it. I mean, I'll admit, I'm a vampire.
He doesn't like dirt.
Yeah.
He doesn't like getting dirty.
I'm a city slicker.
He doesn't really like bugs.
I do appreciate nature. I like taking walks. I like going hiking. I don't like spending days at a time surrounded by other idiots being forced to do activities that have been rendered moot.
But we're not just talking about the regular summer camp. We're talking about what inevitably happens at teen summer camps.
That's the thing.
Is murder.
In the
in
the world of horror movies, summer camp is a fucking death sentence. It's just, if you are at all aware that you are in a horror movie and someone says, "Hey, let's go camping," or "Go to camp," or something with the word camp in it,
or woods,
you're fucked.
Or cabin.
Unless
as we've just explored.
You listen to this episode, in which case afterwards you might have a shot.
Yeah, so if you insist on taking that summer camp counselor position that seems too good to be true.
If you insist on leaving the comfort of your home like some sort of weird animal, like, you know, in the woods.
If you insist on going away to sleepaway camp, we have some do's and don'ts. I mean, I have don'ts. I
have some
do's.
Any
do's. And
I paid my dues.
We all talk about what you can bring or equip yourself with in order to have the best chance of survival.
Why do you think summer camp has become such a trope? Because, I mean, it definitely comes out of, like, in my opinion, it comes out of some giallo films of the 60s and 70s, specifically like Bay of Blood, where you've got like a scenic locale and people getting murdered one by one. It kind of stems from also like the Agatha Christie, you know, And Then There Were None, where it's like a single location and people are getting murdered. So it has I think its origins in the murder mystery, but I think the whole quote unquote summer camp horror movie really came into being in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Or like 1979, around that time. 1980 was the birth of the summer camp, and I think that's because at that point the people making the movies were like the first batch of kids to go to summer camp like in the 50s.
Well, you did ask me what I thought.
That was forever ago.
Why it's a trope. And
now that I've asked and shared what I think, what do you think?
I think it's minimal adult supervision.
That's good.
Is one of the reasons why it's a trope.
Hmm.
I think that summer camps are typically a little weird by nature.
They are. Yeah. And also camp counselors are weirdos.
Can be.
They are. They're just that weird, like,
but they could
enthusiasm.
be irresponsible, make bad decisions, not be mature enough to like actually handle what they're supposed to do. It's sort of throwing
it's weird
teens into a situation of where how are they supposed to
it's
like
weird
behave?
That there are 17-year-olds in charge of the safety of kids that are like 3 years younger than them. Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, you're isolated away from your parents, away from like electricity sometimes,
and
or
it's all
phones,
quote unquote character building, meaning doing things you don't really want to do. And
I mean,
it's mostly things you don't need in modern life. You know, it's like using an abacus. It's just like, okay, I'm orienteering. All right. But, you know, this all sounds like someone who would definitely be dead in like the first 3 minutes of a camping horror movie. I am speaking with the hubris of a city slicker.
Yeah. Definitely you have your, modern conveniences.
I have the strong draw the short straw vibes.
Yeah.
So let's get into some do's and don'ts. Hey, listen, your parents making you go to summer camp? You want to live? Listen to this list.
Yep. And again, I only have don'ts.
Well, why don't we start there?
So, how about this? Don't prank the caretaker.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely don't prank the caretaker.
Yeah. So, in 1981's sleepaway camp movie, The Burning.
Yeah.
The Burning was one of the first films to be on UK's Video Nasties list.
Yeah.
It's starring Jason Alexander and Holly Hunter.
It's got quite a cast.
And
an extremely young Fisher Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Alexander and Holly Hunter. I mean, Holly Hunter's nearly
they're like
unrecognizable.
And it's really funny that Jason Alexander in that movie is playing the quote-unquote cool kid.
Yeah.
He's got the pop collar. That's how you know he's cool.
So basically these kids prank Cropsy, and it sort of has a little nod to that Cropsy legend.
Yeah, from Staten Island.
Yep.
Yeah.
It goes horribly wrong.
Well, see, I'm going to take this a little further, beloved co-host. I'm going to say, don't break into your mentally unstable caretaker's hut, hovel that he lives in the middle of the night and set him on fire as a goof, leading to him almost assuredly dying.
Well, that's very specific. I'm just saying don't prank the caretaker.
Come back to that summer camp the next year, the same place that you definitely just murdered a fucking guy, like nothing happened.
Did you?
Well, yeah.
Him?
I mean, that's so. If we're talking about The Burning specifically, don't set the caretaker on fire.
Don't prank the caretaker.
Yeah.
That's my first don't.
With fire, earth, water, or wind.
What's your first do?
I'm gonna say don't have sex while you're supposed to be watching the deformed child of the mentally unstable female caretaker of the camp. So let's say you have one job to do, and that's to watch young little Jason, who's got a face his mother definitely loves, and you decide now is a really good time to take my girlfriend down to Bonetown. It's not. Trust me.
I have a don't.
Because two horny dorks in the 60s or whatever decided to do that. I mean, like, how many hundreds of teenagers have been killed over the last 50 years?
Yeah, I have a don't that sort of encompasses that before you get to that point, which is don't go to Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's, they didn't know that it wasn't Camp Crystal Lake at the beginning. But once all this happens, don't go to any camp where over the past several decades, literally hundreds of teenagers have died. one is a lot. Two is, I think shut it down. But, if in 50 years, like 9 out of 10 kids that go there die in the worst ways possible.
Yeah.
I mean, even Kevin Bacon didn't make it out.
Yes.
So that's how you know it's serious.
What else do you have?
Well, sticking on that one, don't have sex while your friends are dying all around you.
Don't have sex should probably be the don't.
You want to just say don't have sex? Yeah, just don't.
I mean,
listen,
at summer camp.
Listen, horny teens. I know it seems like a great opportunity. You're away from mom and dad. You're out in the woods. You're being watched over by equally horny teens. But everyone around you is being shot with a spear gun and their bodies are being laid out in weird, ironic ways for you to find. It's not your moment.
Yeah.
It's not. Matthew Modine from one of the Friday the 13th, I think it was 4, the one with Corey Feldman, where he kept calling himself a dead fuck. Like,
right.
Just a side note, I've never heard that term outside of that movie. I grew up in the 80s, as did you. I never heard anyone call anyone a dead fuck. But he's like, the whole movie is like, oh, I'm such a dead fuck. No one's going to love me. I'm a dead fuck. And everyone calls him that. And then, yeah, he
ends up being a dead fuck.
Well, before he can
fuck
prove it otherwise. Yeah. Again, first, tying into the don't have sex at all part, because you might be stalked by weird repressed hillbillies. Don't go to Camp a Virgin. Just pre-sex yourself.
I mean, unless you're like 14. I mean, I can't tell you
that
it's okay.
Yeah, spoiler alert, sure. Now, this isn't maybe summer camp. This is more like any sort of camp cabin in the woods situation. Just don't go a virgin. Because
like if you're waiting to go to summer camp to lose your virginity, maybe don't.
Have it first.
Yeah.
Pre-game. So, you can't be part of whatever weird ritual the cult leader has in store for you. Because you're like, nope. I took care of that already. Thank you. Cross that off the list.
I have another don't.
I would love to hear it.
Don't go to summer camp if your entire family died in a boating accident.
Wow.
So, sleepaway camp from 1993.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
A girl and her cousin go to camp, and a string of murders take place at Camp Arawak.
Shout out Felissa Rose.
Including a beehive being thrown into a bathroom stall, boiling water being dumped straight onto someone's skin.
Yeah.
All that takes place. Just a little warning here. There is a little bit of transphobic vibe to this film.
Okay, listen.
A little bit, but I've read some many well-written articles from folks in the trans community that don't believe that it is a transphobic movie, that it was just maybe a trans misunderstood movie.
And Felissa Rose herself is publicly very supportive of the community, and has talked about that herself. It's a very much an 80s twist.
Yes.
1983,
I believe.
I would say I don't believe the intent behind it was malicious so much as the execution of it was clumsy.
Right. And unknown.
And I hear you. I hear you. But on the other hand, I'm glad you mentioned the sort of reanalysis of it, because it was an early inclusion of trans identity in a genre film. So, that's not nothing. Baby steps. Anyway, I have another don't. And this is a big one, y'all. It's a little counterintuitive, but trust me on this. Don't ignore the crazy gas station attendant screaming prophetic warnings at you about evil living up the exact place that you're about to go to. I know he's dirty. I know he's covered in grease. He's missing some teeth. And I know his method is questionable. Yeah, jumping out from behind a corner and going, oh, evil, don't go there. And listen, we live in a culture where you got to be very cautious about strange men, obviously. But take it from me. The guy knows what he's talking about. The reason he's like that is he's been through some shit. And this is likely not an area where he has access to proper mental health
And he's
facilities
also
and
like
care.
that because he's warned so many people before you.
Think about
that
this
haven't
man's
listened to
life.
him.
He has just spent his life fruitlessly warning teenagers who ignore him because he's gross, and then, reading about their horrible deaths that he once again failed to prevent.
Yeah.
So please listen to old Gus, old Otto, whatever.
Unless, and this is a warning as well, unless he gives you some shortcut advice.
Yes, that is the opposite. Now, if old Gus is not dirty, if he's like really clean and nice looking and questionably helpful, maybe suggesting, oh gosh, the place you want to go, the road's washed out, but why don't you stay at my cousin's inn? It's just down the block and I'll get you a discount. Yeah, it's down Murder Boulevard right next to Hillbilly Cannibal Drive. Watch out for that, dude. That leads me into my next don't.
Okay.
It's sort of a do. It's a do and a don't. Now, do make sure you know what car you're getting into when you run screaming into the street. Once you're the last survivor of a hillbilly massacre scenario, and your mind is breaking,
right.
and you run screaming into the road and flag down to the nearest car, make sure you know which car you're getting into. Now, take a cue from Sally at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She knew that, the truck she was getting into was safe because Leatherface started attacking the guy almost immediately, and waited until they were pretty far away before she let her mind break completely. Don't get into the car of the guy who's related to the fucking family who's just going to drive you right back to the house.
I want to tell you this. When you get to the road and you're in the middle of nowhere, you probably shouldn't get into anyone's car, honestly.
Stay away from the road. Yeah.
You should
Hide.
probably wait
Keep
until
hiding.
you're around
Get in town.
as many civilized people as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that one lone gas station looks really appealing, but I don't know, man.
You got to keep going.
You got to watch
made
out.
It this far.
You got to watch out. So do you have any more don'ts? I'd love to hear another one. I'd love to hear another one.
Don't trust the mascot. Don't trust the team mascot at Sleepaway Camp.
Tell me more.
Cheerleader Camp, 1988.
Whoa. Deep pull.
Originally titled Bloody Pom Poms.
They should have stuck with that.
They, at Camp Hurrah, the cheerleaders, they don't end up
in a
healthy.
Cheerful situation.
No.
And
it's all because of this mascot. I mean, it's got mask in the title.
Yeah.
Mascot.
Be anything underneath that weird big head.
It's starring a young Leif Garrett, by the way.
Wow. Interesting.
He's really the only notable of that film.
Now, is the mascot...
He plays a 18-year-old, but he was 26 at the time.
Okay. God, that's so...
As you do.
Yeah, that's always like really weird. Side note, have you noticed like...
You have to.
Actors back in the 70s. Actors back in the 70s who were, like TV actors who were playing characters ostensibly in their 60s and 70s. In real life, they were like 43.
Oh, I know.
That's
we just
wild.
saw that whole thing of like they were in their 50s and
I guess
did not
smoking and drinking. I don't know.
Also, we have more access to, people drink water all the time now.
That's true.
I don't remember drinking water this much as a kid.
Stay out of the sun. Yeah.
Yeah, and all kinds of expensive creams.
Looking at you, Abe Vigoda. So, that's a good don't. I have a quick don't. Don't take this moment, whichever moment it is, to confess your long-held feelings for your crush. You're being hunted by killers. Your friends are slaughtered around you. I know you're having a real, we could die at any second, and that's the fucking point. You could die at any second. Now's not the time, Romeo. All right? Just keep your eye on the prize, which is not dying.
Or Romeo.
Or Juliet. Yeah.
Well, she didn't really confess anything. he was really the pursuer.
No, she didn't kill herself on top
She
of
did,
his body.
but she didn't like confess this long.
I can't believe you're even
love.
arguing with me
Okay.
about this. It's just what I'm saying is like I feel like there's always that moment where they start, you know, they have like a meaningful look at each other, and you're like, are you serious now?
Or
the
couple, one of them dies, and then the best friend is like uses that as their chance to swoop in, be like, I've always
that's
had
got some
thing
real hitting on people at a funeral vibe.
Yeah,
it just time and a place. My God, one thing at a time, everybody. I swear, if you make it, you can immediately fuck.
I have a final don't, a big one.
Oh, let's hear it.
Don't try to help. I know this is controversial, but your job, and especially our advice to you to survive, is
your advice.
You are the one that needs to escape and run to safety so that you can get help for the rest of the people at the camp if needed. And why I say if needed is because you don't know if you can trust the rest of the camp counselors. They could be the killers. So don't try to help. You just need to get out of there. Just escape.
You definitely got to.
You just need to run for it.
You got to look out for the old red herring, the broken down car scenario, the hitchhiker, the like help me, the person pretending to be injured. Is that what you're talking about?
And also just the people that around you are getting, slashed up. Don't try to help them. They're done. They're
definitely
done for.
That leads me into a do.
We have to go save Bobby. You don't. It's too late for Bobby.
Do understand your limitations. You are not Rambo. You're not a special forces whatever. You're just a random jerk out in the woods. You don't know what you're doing, and you're thrust into a situation that you've never been in before that is beyond anything you've ever imagined you'd be in. So don't pretend like, you can fight things off. Just survive and escape.
Yeah. Know
that you're a human person, and also know that you're gonna get the shit beat out of you. You're probably not getting out of this like
unscathed.
Clean. Yeah, you're getting cut. Yeah. You're gonna have to crawl across some glass or through some barbed wire.
You're probably gonna get some poison ivy or oak.
Do that thing where they're about to stab you and you grab the knife with your hand because it's the only way to not die. And that's a decision, but
or something goes through your leg or arm,
or like if you're in a
eyeball.
sauce situation, especially, you're gonna have to get all grossed up to survive. But yeah, accept the fact that you're both gonna get pretty banged up, but also you're not gonna live with the same level of like civilization you came with.
Yeah, this is all about summer camp survival.
Yes.
So you need to survive.
Yes, which means...
And by surviving, it means stay alive.
Leads me into a really, really, really big do, and that is use your environment. Now, you're at a summer camp. There are weird tools hanging in sheds. There are paddles and oars. There's the water, sharp branches, knives, survival knives, things like that. Use your environment. Oiled lamps. They're great. You smash one of those on the killer and they burn right up. Maybe they take their weird hut with them or a shrine. Definitely get creative. Plus you're going to have to be biting and poking eyeballs and grabbing testes and doing whatever, man. This is some nasty fighting.
Do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Listen, he's an undead immortal kill machine that's after you. Don't worry about poking him through his hockey mask.
Yeah.
No honor necessary. Now, a big don't all of the sudden start dismissing the judgment of your spouse, your significant other, or your best friend just because they said something weird to you. Like, you went to the cabin with this person you love or trust or have known for a long time, and just because they said they see something in the woods, which, by the way, is not really a weird thing to say, you're like, oh, I don't believe you.
Yeah. Just believe women.
What's it gonna hurt? What's it gonna hurt? If you take a couple minutes out of your stupid day to fucking go look.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Or, that's maybe another don't. Don't go looking
Well,
out
don't go
for danger
stupidly.
alone.
Don't go like by yourself in the dark with no flashlight or anything. I'm just saying, when it's so weird to me when someone that you ostensibly have a lengthy relationship, a trusting one with, tells you, "Oh my God, there's someone in here," and your first reaction is like, "Now." Stop telling stories. Like, what the fuck, man? Just take 2 seconds to be like, okay, look, maybe you're wrong, but on the off chance you're right, let's go look. Let's go grab some
necessarily
fire pokers
to summer camp survival, but
like your bestie says, there's somebody here, and you're like, oh, he's always full of shit.
Yeah.
Or the camp counselors are like, what the weirdest thing to me is when the grown-ups say, stop telling stories, and you're like, what kind of kids do you have that tell fantastical murder stories so often you've learned to dismiss them offhand?
Yeah.
Like, that's such a weird thing to say. Oh, stop telling stories. Listen, I've never before told you that there's an undead, burned up killer in the woods. This isn't like a story I keep bringing up.
Yeah, or I can't find so-and-so. Like, that's real.
Just
They're not just wandering around. This place isn't that big.
Future plug for our terrible parents.
We're in the
woods.
woods.
That we're
Your
totally
responsibility
doing.
as an adult is to make sure all the campers are safe. If I say so-and-so's missing, we need to go find them.
Yes. Benefit of the doubt, folks. It goes a long way. I have an idea that we take a little break.
And come back with our ideas for survival.
I have a couple more do's and don'ts I want to do, and then definitely we need to give some tips on how our beloved listeners can survive the night, survive the summer, and continue listening to this quality entertainment.
Do come back.
Sure, spearing 3 people at once with a harpoon gun is satisfying. But if it jams, who's going to make those camp counselors pay for having disco parties while you drowned in a lake? No. The real immortal death machine knows there's just no beating a bladed weapon. But how can you set yourself apart from every other Dick and Jane out there with a fridge full of severed heads? You're mommy's special monster, and you deserve a weapon as twisted as your soul. Well, introducing Uncle Jason's Knives and Blades, a one-stop emporium for your stabby satisfaction. Every weapon at Uncle Jason's is handmade in a custom workshop out of an abandoned shipping container. No design is too outlandish for Uncle Jason. Just bring us your blood-soaked dream journal, and we'll customize your weapon to your exact specification. Wondering how to clean all the chunks of small-town deputy off your new toy? Just bring it in for a special hose down, and we'll clear out all the brains, sinew, even poop, at no extra cost. If you're in the game, you know where to find us. And if not, don't worry. I promise we'll find you. So come on down to Uncle Jason's Knives and Blades. Take out all the rage you feel towards your dead mother in style on the next hitchhiker unlucky enough to eat a banana in front of you. This is a fake ad for a fake product on a horror-themed podcast. We do not condone nor endorse killing people with fancy custom weapons you made in a shed. Oh, we hope you made it back.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listened to the first part, you're probably fine.
And I'm going to just jump right in with a don't.
Don't
Touch that dial.
Ooh. So I have a few more quick do's and don'ts. I'll just rattle them off real quickly. Now, dolls. 0 tolerance policy. No. Never. No dolls. Ever. You
Don't
see a
bring
doll.
your dolls.
Well, don't bring them. If you find one, don't touch it. Don't fuck with it. If you have to, just set it on fire immediately. Ideally, just leave. Dolls, 100% 0 tolerance policy. No exceptions at all. No dolls.
I have another don't. If you see a freshly killed animal that doesn't look like it was killed by nature, go. You need to leave.
I agree with that 100%. It's infuriating when there's like
don't miss the signs.
when there's like a
basically.
dead deer that is, up in a tree.
Gutted and
Yeah. Like all laid out, and some idiots like, oh, it's a
or
critter.
there's some sort of ritualistic
So
setup.
beloved listener,
Don't ignore the signs.
Many years ago, this is a true story. I lived next to some disturbed folks.
Oh gosh, I remember this.
Yes. So one night, I was walking my dog, and she started sniffing around outside my bedroom window, and I found the bottom halves of 6 baby bunnies that were neatly cut and laid out in a row outside my window. True story. So I called the police, which I had always been led to believe is something you're supposed to do. And they came, and the first word out of Officer Goober's mouth was, looks like a critter did it. Now, I don't know about you, and I tried to explain this to the officer. I don't think critters make clean cuts, leave meat behind, and neatly arrange in a straight line the leavings. The officer did not believe me and did not pursue it, and the next day we discovered what happened to the top halves of the poor baby bunnies that were killed by my neighbor when the kid knocked on my door, and I heard a very, very loud sound and went outside to find blood and viscera shooting out of the top of the central air unit next to the house I lived in because the neighbor had put them in the blades. So when I turned on the cooling system, everything exploded.
I don't like this story.
Well, it really happened.
Because the windows you had lived in,
there was gore.
Subterranean, finished basement, and those windows were level with the ground.
Yes.
They didn't have curtains on them.
There was gore all up the side of the house. It was truly frightening. Called the cops again, and they did nothing. So thank you. Thank you for that.
I don't like that at all.
But yeah.
I mean, I was there for all of it, but it's very re-traumatizing.
It was great to move out of that place. So other thing real quick is you're walking around the woods. Be respectful. The woods are older than you. There have been inhabitants before you. You find an old shrine, don't fuck with it. Mm-hmm. Don't kick it over. You're out taking mushrooms with a weird Swedish cult. Don't pee on the ashes of their dead ancestors and vape in their temples, because they'll make a blood angel out of you, and that's gross. Google that or watch Midsummer. Just watch Midsummer. It's amazing. Respect the local legends. Don't go out on the moors in the middle of the night if they tell you not to. Don't bury your loved ones in an Indian burial ground.
Or pets.
Yeah. Just like we were saying earlier, if everybody says don't go to the evil lake where everyone dies when they go, that's a local legend. You should respect that. Don't do it. And rapid fire, put the camera down. If you're filming all of this and you're running away, drop the camera. You don't need to film yourself. You're essentially just self-filming your own snuff movie. Put the camera down. Confirm your kills. Take an extra second to, pop a headshot into the guy you just knocked to the ground, bash him with a rock. It takes so little time. And it really, the old expression, a headshot in time saves 9 of your friends from being killed. The other last do, and this is very, very, very important, do absolutely, if you survive, wipe the blood off of your face before you make out with the other survivor or your waiting loved one or whatever. I can't express to you how nasty that is and how many times I see it in movies where they just flat out start tongue kissing each other because they're really happy that they're horny happy that they lived. And I get that. I would be too. But just grab a moist towelette and get that blood off your face.
Yeah.
That is the blood of some nasty hillbilly cannibals that you just killed to survive. And it's all over you. And you're licking it off of each other.
Oh, God.
It's bad. Why do they do that? And don't fuck in graveyards. That's it. I'm done.
At a summer camp.
If you're at an old summer camp and you find some old-timey graves, don't get up to some shenanigans near that stuff. Be respectful. Be respectful. It's good for any situation, but especially potentially murderous ones.
So let's get into our survival kits.
How are we going to make it through this experience?
So I have a couple of recommendations on, prior to this trip, because nobody just goes to a summer camp by accident.
Now, you have yourself survived several summer camp massacres, which I don't know why your parents kept sending you year after year.
Here are some things that
was mean.
Before you take the job as a camp counselor or before you leave to go to summer camp, make sure that you take swimming lessons.
Yeah.
Learn how to swim.
You're going to
learn
a
how
camp
to
near
tread
a lake.
water, learn how to dive, learn how to hold your breath.
Invest in some swimmies.
Yeah, learn how to swim.
Little floaties.
Another thing you need to do before you leave is learn how to hunt.
Oh.
The same rules can apply to hunting animals as it can people. So you can turn that around by being a prey and getting into the mindset of a predator and try to outsmart the predator by knowing how to hunt and knowing how, to escape being hunted.
I'm going to add to that. Know your enemies. Now, what are you up against here? You fighting vampires? You being hunted by deadites? Did you stumble upon the hunting grounds of a hillbilly cannibal family or Nazi survivalist? Don't come to a Pumpkinhead fight with Jason Voorhees weapons, is what I'm saying.
With a peanut head.
Do you have to... do you have to physically fight this thing? Is it something that can be killed? Do you have to perform a ritual? Did you read out of a Sumerian book made of human skin and now you have to do it backwards to get them back into hell? What I'm saying is, how are you going to survive if you don't know what you're up against? Know your enemies.
This leads right into my next one, which is research the local folklore before you go.
What are the local spookies?
There's always local newspaper articles that talk about these, hauntings or killings.
Was there a mental institution that closed down because of scandals?
Right. Was there a unexplained campfire burn down situation 10 years ago? Now it's been reopened by
the site of a massacre,
an original camp counselor,
like that took place, in the 18th century or something.
Do your research. Local.
Does the Jersey Devil hang out there?
Make sure you have a full tank of gas.
Oh, if you're driving there, yeah,
and gas on hand,
and
if possible.
Lock your hood and keep your keys on you. Just basically make sure you can get to your car and it will work.
Listen, the tires might be slashed.
For sure.
So in that case, you need to have a secondary mode of transportation, which I recommend a dirt bike or a BMX bike.
Now, listen, I just want to add a caveat onto the dirt bike. If you're going to be using dirt bikes, careful with that, because if you run over the wrong person's kid, they will summon Pumpkinhead to kill you and all your friends.
Yeah. But we're talking about summer camp.
That did happen with dirt bikes, though.
So what else do you have for before you leave?
Chris Hemsworth tried the old dirt bike. Didn't work out for him. I'm questionable on the dirt bike, and I want that on the record.
But that's my survival kit.
Now, guns are unreliable and they're loud. If you find one, use it as a last resort. But understand that to get out of this, you're going to have to get dirty. You're going to have to be bashing with rocks and letting out your weird rage and bringing up old traumas so you can poke someone's eyeball out and compartmentalize that because you work in a cubicle 40 hours a week and now you're like being hunted.
Wow, these teens sure have a lot on their shoulders.
Well, it's not all teens. This is like, camping as well. Adults camping. You got to suppress your civilized side. Also, leave your biases at the door. Now, that dirty gas station guy we were talking about, don't judge him. Tucker and Dale, yeah, they're hillbillies. and they're kind of gross.
Yeah, don't
but
judge
they're the good
caretaker.
guys.
I mean, he takes care of the place
Yeah.
all year.
Don't judge the nerdy virgin, because that's the one that's going to MacGyver their way out of this situation. Fuck them so they don't get used in the ritual, and then make them save everybody. Or conversely, if that's not going to work out, they make a great meat shield.
I think the most important thing to do is to be prepared. And I've put together a list of things to put in a bug out bag because, again, this isn't a surprise. You know that you're going to summer camp.
Obviously, assume that if you are going to summer camp, you are going
to be murdered.
100% be fighting for your survival.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you need to put together a bug out bag.
Guaranteed.
And here are some of the items. You mentioned weapons. Yes, I think you should get a weapon of some kind and put it in your bug out bag. However, you need to understand how to use that weapon in all circumstances.
Side note,
so don't just...
we are a parody podcast, not advocating bringing real weapons to real summer camps.
So you mentioned using whatever's around you, but you
like
might
oars.
not know how to use those things.
Swing one.
You might not know the weight of it. You might not be familiar with how to use it.
Yeah.
So
spear guns.
High proof vodka.
I'm not going to argue.
You can clean your wounds. You can help with calming your fear and anxieties. And it can also be used to start fires or as a weapon.
Or as just like we're fucked and we have 1 minute left.
Exactly. To take that
pass it around.
pill with.
Yeah.
I would recommend getting a sat phone.
Wow. Okay.
Because you need to be able to reach authorities at some point.
I mean, first off, imagine being the kid showing up to summer camp with a backpack full of all the shit you're describing.
You don't tell people about this.
Damn.
This
Just make sure they're not searching backpacks.
You got your sat phone and you have to reach authorities. And I recommend that you contact non-local authorities to ensure that you get help from somebody who's not in on it.
Yeah, call the feds. Call the FBI.
Exactly.
You don't want to call like the local dipshit sheriff who's related to the Hillbilly family.
We'll be right there.
Yeah. Bringing you back.
Antibiotics and antivirals. Listen,
For sure.
You are going to get cut. You are going to get wounded. You're going to come up against some sort of parasite in the water.
You're making traps out of sharpened wood stakes.
As soon as that first cut hits, you take those antibiotics. As soon as you put a toe in the water, you take those antivirals.
Yeah, hate an infection.
This is part of the survival. It's not just about surviving the night. It's about survival. And you need to make sure that if you need to hide out in a pile of leaves all night until morning to go get help, that you're not going to get some sort of parasitic that's going to kill you.
Listen, chances are you're not going to have the dream bug out bag that we're describing with a sat phone and bottle of booze. Like, you're basically in old timey land now. You lack the modern conveniences. You're out in the woods, so you get slashed with a rusty garden trowel, and you live. You got to take care of that. You're going to get fucked up.
I would also recommend a military style compass. And be sure you know how to use it. Unless
you're in some sort of interdimensional hell thing where it just spins around in a circle. But, if that happens, it's no good.
Yeah. And then this is a little out there, but I'm making an argument for it. You should definitely put the sunglasses from They Live in your bag. Why not? Because I do think that they can be used to see in the dark. And they can also be used to see the murderers behind the mask. So you'll know if that person can be trusted just by using these sunglasses.
Honestly, it should be part of your everyday kit. Camping or not, you should have those glasses.
You should. Why do you think I wear sunglasses all the time?
I do have a bit of advice. This is very specific to, a particular type of camping survivor, camp story survivor. Don't be colorblind if you're in this scenario. Now, if you are the only black camper in a murder scenario, understand that much like real life scenarios and basically everywhere you go, you are at an increased risk. Take that into account. Use it to your advantage. Use the numerical advantage of your white friends as meat shields. Let them try out their brilliant ideas and wear down the killers because, like we keep mentioning, the point here is survival, not winning. You're not going to beat the ancient Celtic nightmare evil that stalked this land for thousands of years. You just might make it out alive. So if you are the only black member of this group getting picked off one by one, recognize the room and play to that strength. You're surrounded by a lot of eager meat shields with bad ideas, and eventually you'll find your moment. Don't rush in and don't volunteer.
I also think you should wear reinforced boots that are lightweight yet can be quickly pulled off, like with a ripcord or
dress for
one
success.
cord. Yeah.
Don't show up in flat, in flip-flops and cutoffs. Yeah, again, horny teens, pick your moments.
Yeah, if you have to escape and run through the woods or swim or something, you need something that's going to get you there.
Learn how to run through the woods, too. My God, how many people are stumbling and falling. And,
or getting their foot caught in branches, and you need to remove those boots. The precious moments.
Oh, you're talking about the old got your leg caught between a rock or something.
Or quicksand.
Yeah, and you can't get out.
Or mud.
Or the guy is grabbing you like Die Hard style.
And if you have it on a ripcord, you can just escape. It's all about escaping.
If Bonnie Bedelia wasn't wearing a clasp watch, Die Hard would have ended very differently.
One final thing I do want to mention, though, is no matter how much you prepare, you may still not make it.
No, you're going to need a healthy bullshit detector, no matter what tools you get, because chances are you're going to be dealing with gaslighting, you're going to be dealing with infiltrators, with weird relatives that are pretending to be normal, with fellow survivors that it might sell you out because they think it helps them. The old shoot the guy in the leg to escape the zombie horde thing. So bring your bullshit detector. This weird 17th century village you live in with Sigourney Weaver might actually be only like a 25-foot walk to the New Jersey Turnpike. Maybe if you just stop listening to everybody and figure it out.
So if you don't end up surviving, chances are slim that you will, but with all of these do's and don'ts and survival kits, you have a better chance. However, one final thing that I would recommend doing before leaving is leaving a note about where you're going and what you've brought.
That's why you always leave.
Just so that somebody reading it will know what's happening at this camp.
Yeah, don't go camping with your friends in an ancient Norwegian forest without first, leaving some instructions or details.
We got to break the cycle of people that keep going to these camps every year.
Yeah, just I don't know. You've got a week off, your precious time, and you're going to spend it by secretly going to a cursed murder camp. Okay, that's the choice you've made. So maybe this episode will help. We can only hope for the best. But yeah, more than likely you're going to die anyway.
But leave a note and let others know where you've gone,
where you hid your jewelry,
and what
your passwords
brought in order to survive.
Any laptop hard drives you would like erased before your family gets to them.
It's more about the summer camp, so that people don't keep going to this summer camp.
Did I digress?
Yeah, it's not about hiding all your secrets from those your loved ones.
Nuclear codes you got from the Russians.
It's really about preventing others from going to the summer camp. So if you can't survive, maybe you can help others from ever going.
The pictures of your secret family. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's listen, summer camp is a brutal tradition.
Can cause a summer cramp.
That makes no sense to me, and I don't get it, and it sucks. But if you have to go and be stalked by a supernatural hillbilly murder family, follow these do's and don'ts and
put together your bug out bags.
Dear listener, you might just make it home in time.
Do that
to listen
research
to our next episode, which is
that research.
Really, really just a great treat for you.
So don't forget the bug spray, and we'll see you next time. Terror in Tandem is written, produced, and recorded by Laura and Richard Mathiasen, and edited and mixed by Richard Mathiasen. Our theme was written and performed by Carrie Denver, and all other music was written and performed by David Suspanic. All opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and should be taken as such. Thanks for listening, and please remember to give us a like, a review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.